Lacrosse community, my name is Ryan Berns. I'm the president of Lacrosse Leadership Institute. It's our mission to empower all those that love lacrosse, to utilize the skills that you get from the sport to live the life that you want to live. Today, we have two amazing guests that are making a real impact in Montana, and they're going to share a little bit more about Treasure State Lacrosse. Chris, Kevin, thank you for being a part of our community today. And please start by sharing a little bit about your guys' background with lacrosse and where it's taking you today.
All right, Kev.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks for having us. I don't know, I got into lacrosse late in life. I grew up in Chicago, and they didn't have it when I was a youth player at all. But I played a bunch of other different sports, and primarily basketball was probably my biggest sport. And I got into lacrosse in high school when it was first introduced to me, and just took to it right away. It was a really easy transition for me to understand the game, and I was competitive, and I immediately wanted to play and compete. And I also am passionate about the outdoors, and that brought me out to college at the University of Montana. And I didn't know anything about the team at the time, and there really wasn't a team at the time, as it turns out. So I got involved with organizing it pretty much right away from orientation of my freshman year of college, and running into other guys in the halls that had lacrosse shirts on. And I knew we'd be like-minded, and jumped right into it. And I've sort of just been a lacrosse advocate and a leader by circumstance, mainly. I was just the first person out here to be doing stuff. And I met Chris in college. He had the same role at Montana State, which was our only contemporary / opponent that was nearby. So we had a really good working relationship in college, helping to get the two programs kind of off the ground at the same time. And, we've both just been involved and stayed in lacrosse ever since. And I started getting into the instructional side, camps, and traveling across the country, working with some of the biggest lacrosse companies in the country, and a lot of the, top players and coaches. And, just am passionate about playing the game the right way, and bringing it out to kids and who have a chance to get introduced to it, since it wasn't something that was available for me when I was a kid.
Yeah, real similar story for me growing up in Colorado, kind of in the, tail of its huge population burst. Now it's just a hotbed in the West. But when I was in high school at Regis Jesuit High School, is a really good program. But all in all, it was still growing across the Rocky Mountain front. Similar story to Kevin. I was a 3-sport athlete, played a ton of basketball, tennis, soccer, everything. But, I had a really good friend, best friend growing up, give me a stick, kind of the similar lacrosse story you hear a lot. Someone gives you a stick somehow, and the world gets this big to about that big as you kind of go through it. But the Snows were the family that gave me my kind of first taste of lacrosse, and I never turned back. I was hungry to compete in high school, and just kind of grinded because I wasn't necessarily the best player in our program, but definitely wanted to emulate a lot of the guys within our own program. But, the top guys across the country. Back then it was, watching the NCAAs once a year, not necessarily with the coverage that they get now. And then I was going to try to go play in college, had some injuries, but definitely ended up in Montana for a reason. Helped start the MSU program, like Kevin said. And, we were adversaries, but advocates for each other. I played a lot of offense. Kevin was a defender. We'd bruise and batter each other, and, hug it out at the end of the game. So it was an awesome relationship, helping organize in the growth of lacrosse in the collegiate level. But we saw a niche need as well to, get kids the opportunities to try a new sport like we've had the opportunity to do. And it's a phenomenal game because it combines so much from other sports that kids grow up either learning from their mom or dad, or, just gives them that little push to try something absolutely new. And that's where a lot of leaders can come from, is just, trying something new and paving the path.
I love that. I love part of the things that both of you two said is providing access to lacrosse for communities that don't really have lacrosse in the first place. And it seems like it's really been a big spark of your lives. Throughout your journeys, do you guys have pinnacle moments that really stick out, whether it's on the field or being a coach, running a tournament? What sticks out as those pinnacle moments for you two?
I know, like, as a player, just being able to be with my buddies in college and play in some amazing venues and travel across the country. And, I was fortunate to have a really good group of guys who were good players. We won a national title when I was in college, and the kids could really play. So we were playing at a high level, which is fun, but mostly it was just the everything else that is the experience part of it, and traveling around and getting close like that. And that part was great for college. And then really, like, the youth lacrosse thing has just been, we have those kind of moments like all the time. I mean, the amount of kids that we've introduced to the game for the first time, I mean, literally thousands of kids. So I've seen that spark, like, of giving somebody their first stick or having them score their first goal, like, hundreds of times. And it's special, like, every time. And we know so many kids that have gone through the years, and as we get older, I think the stuff that's very cool to reflect on is I've got former players that I met in high school when they were 100 pounds and gangly and not knowing what they were doing, and now they're married and they have kids and they're coaching with us and they're developing young high schoolers too. So that kind of stuff and having longevity just really puts a different perspective on everything for me. And I know for Chris, we talk all the time about this game, and seeing things develop over time and relationships and things like that. And some of my best friends were connected through this sport and are all over the country doing amazing things. And it's just cool to see it all.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Just seeing those aha moments where a kid just gets it, whether it's just one skill set that you've been working on for weeks, or, like, hugging it out after a game-winning goal with a buddy. Like, there's just so many nuanced moments in this game that just kind of keep you gravitated towards it. And my big pinnacle, moment, Ryan, would be being able to make this somewhat of a career. It's a labor of love, but ever since college, working in the pro ranks with, administrative, helping run events, director of sales for the Washington Stealth, NLL team, before they moved up to Vancouver. And then, able to take that passion back here to Montana and team back up with Kevin to create these opportunities for these kids and just see that light just blast and just, have an absolute kick just behind their backs, just like knowing that I've had that moment with them and they're not even going to realize it until later in life, which is so cool. But then, obviously, like, the successes beget successes. So when we have, good partnerships with, like, Rhino, who I know you interviewed Ryan the other day, and it's great to get involved with them. Like Kevin was saying, we've been very blessed with whomever it might be, kind of helping us along, but also just encouraging, like, you're doing what, where? And it's been great. Another big pinnacle moment for me and Kevin was the hosting of our tournament this past summer in beautiful Whitefish, Montana, underneath Glacier National Park. And it was, we just had a, kind of a eye-to-eye moment, because it's something that Kevin and I have talked about for years, hosting something to that effect, and we only see it growing. And it's going to be, sharing those kind of moments with, championship teams at that event, or a kid just making the right play at the right time and seeing the grins and everyone. That's what really keeps us going.
That's so cool. That reminds me of the conversation we had a couple months ago. Would you share a little bit more with our community about what it's like for one of your guys' events in Montana? Because for me, growing up, it was always you went to a location for a lacrosse tournament and you were just grinding day to night to playing, and you just were on to the next day. And it was maybe like a weekend where your parents were lucky enough to fly you out there or they came with you, but you're really focused with the team. It sounds like you guys are trying to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us is experience, right? And like when I go in and design a camp, I'm doing it with having done over 200 camps in 40 states across the country. I mean, I've been out and seen this everywhere and know what stuff works and what stuff doesn't work. And, we're tackling that same thing with events. And, we've had some awesome mentors and people that we've been able to follow and work with, Chris at the professional levels. And, we've done high school tournaments and college tournaments and big events and things like that. And really, yeah, a lot is lost in our sport right now about that whole experience for people, and really like, what is it about? And it should be about growth and family and community, and that's something that everybody can really enjoy and appreciate. And I think what we're looking forward to doing is welcoming people into our communities and our places that we come, and that comes with all the other things that we have to offer. I've been to plenty of destination locations where you don't even get to enjoy it because you're stuck at the field from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And that's no fun for everybody. And it doesn't really do justice to showcase the area. So, I mean, you guys have been fortunate in Arizona this year where a ton of teams who have never been to Arizona got to come to Arizona and visit it over the past couple months, with all the tournaments getting switched to there. And, that's a great opportunity for you guys to showcase your state. Well, we had the same thing happen this year where we, were part of a huge event in Oregon that got canceled, and we picked up the pieces and it decided to host in Montana where we were able to. And people had a great time, and, we want to have them back and do it again. And, if you can play the best sport in the best place, how does it really get better than that? And I mean, we look at Vail and Placid. I mean, Chris and I have been going to Vail for 20 years, and it's, these are big time events in beautiful places that are people's best experience in the game. So to be able to know that we can provide that for people, that we can be a part of their best weekend in the sport that they love the most, we take that really seriously. And, I think we do a really good job with that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kev. I think it's about the time spent at the locations too with our events, big time, because push come shove, you're going to remember those game-winning goals, those fierce moments in competition, but you're going to remember the camaraderie around, a local restaurant, getting a different flavor with your whole team around you a lot more, and sharing those experiences, whitewater rafting in Montana, wearing a lacrosse helmet representing a team from Arizona, and coming out and experiencing something absolutely different. And just getting time with each other on the field is fantastic to get those unique opponents, which we really try and strive for, but also just being with each other in the world that's this, like I mentioned before, that's this big when you throw a lacrosse stick in the mix. And that community is really what enriches the sport across the country and across the world too. It's amazing to see what international play has been in the last 20 years. It's unreal. So just if we can do a little bit of part to bring that, to our neck of the woods, we're stoked to do it every single time we get the chance.
And I mean,
I love oh, go ahead, Kev.
I was just gonna say, community is like so important, and it's for us in this sport. I mean, I would go out east and work camps all summer with people from the, traditional hotbeds, the Long Islands and the Marylands and whatever. And I was never treated as lesser than, because I didn't grow up there. I didn't play lacrosse there. I was a lacrosse coach, same as them. And, I would never want to be part of an event where people go like to beat up on their opponent. Like they should both be going to be getting better. And, and having a personal growth experience and a team growth experience doesn't really have anything to do with who you're playing against. It has to do what you get out of the event. So I just, I feel like it's so important. And if we can play a role in it, organizing in this region, that's great. But our goal isn't to have like something that already exists. There's plenty of that already out there.
I love how you guys are all about providing the ultimate experience. The gratitude is apparent as well for what you guys have for the sport. And that's the community as a whole. Like you said, Kevin, wherever you are, when you bump into someone who has a lacrosse stick or is talking lacrosse, there's an instant bond there that is unparalleled, I think, to any other sport. And it's quite amazing. And I think it's really neat that we can use this sport to ultimately produce the lives that we want. You guys have created lives out of lacrosse and the livelihood of your incomes and for your families. Can you share a little bit about what leadership means to each of you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like leadership, I train coaches and coach coaches, and I try to boil it down to the most simple thing, which to me is buy-in. And what that means is like all the work and all the prep and everything, it really comes down to like, it's going to be a close game when it really matters. And if you call timeout with 30 seconds left and you draw up a new play, do the 6 guys go out and do exactly that, or do they just do whatever? Because it doesn't really matter what the play is. It matters that everybody buys into the goal. So, you can do all this other prep and this planning and everything, but it really boils down to like that one moment. And a coach needs credibility, and credibility comes with buy-in. So you set these little benchmarks all throughout the season, and you develop players, and they use discipline and focus, hard work, all of those things. But that's really what it boils down to, is like, can you win a close game? And you look at like the great programs and the great coaches, and how many games over like the history of this sport come down to 1 or 2 goals. It's a ton of them. And, to be able to win those at a consistent basis, that's everything. That's what it all comes down to in the sport. So for me, it's always been about buy-in. And that's what leadership is really about, is getting people to follow whatever the message is. And I learned that in college when we had kids coming from, 30 different high school programs that were all good, and everybody's got 30 different ground ball drills. Well, it doesn't matter like how you pick up a ground ball. It matters that you're all doing it the same way. So you have a program mentality first, not like a, whatever. So, there's so much stuff out there of you got to do this or you got to do this to be successful. It really doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you're focused and you work hard at it. And then collectively as a group, and this is what makes team sports so much, so important to our society, is that you learn to do something together. You learn to just play your role and do your one thing and trust that the people next to you are going to do the same thing. And then collectively you can achieve your goal. But it's all about buy-in. It starts at the top.
Yeah, I agree. It's a big tool for it, and you necessarily need that to be in a guiding role as a leader to bring young men and women in this sport along, to entrust in each other, but trust them to make that right decision with preparation. So one of those big things for me for leadership is an old quote that I grew up with, is dream big dreams, but put on your overalls. That just means to me, like, shoot for the stars, but definitely be ready to put in the work. And a lot of that work happens when no one's looking. It's, taking advantage of different opportunities that other kids aren't. It's, really reaching out to, people across the country that you might be kind of hesitant to ask for different points of view or, advice or anything like that. And just, kind of with some humility, just saying, hey, I want to learn from the best. I want to be, along those lines, but I know it's going to come with work. And, getting back to what Kevin said, if you get a group of kids that have all that, together, and they have that buy-in one of each other, but with the leadership in front of them, some awesome things can really happen, especially just doing the little things that add up in huge ways, come game time. And that's one thing I really preach to my guys at MSU, that we work daily on the little things to make big differences when those opportunities arise.
I think it's no coincidence that you both talk about the little things that add up to the greater goal at the end of the day, and that culture of camaraderie, teamwork, trusting one another. And that's what big enterprises look at nonstop, which is so powerful. And I appreciate you two sharing your perspectives on leadership as well. I'd love to hear what you're telling your players right now that are looking to play lacrosse at the next level, whether it's going from middle school to high school to college. Love to hear, Chris, what you're telling your college players. What does it take to go to the next level, and what do you guys have to share?
I think a big, part of what we preach to our constituents as far as Treasure State lacrosse and our select teams, and Kevin will probably echo this, and I echo it as a college coach too, is know where you want to go first in like the, part of the world, and what school can really work for you if that's the level you want to go to from high school to college. Because, if you get an injury, you really got to understand that in all relativity, the lacrosse part is very small. You really want to be somewhere where you enjoy and you can grow. But as far as like a skill set for me to really encourage kids is challenge yourself during practices. You practice way more than you're ever going to play. So if you don't feel confident in your left hand, work on it. If you don't feel confident in your saves, work on it. Defensively, just work on communication all the time. If you're kind of the wallflower, and everything is controllable, and you just got to take the time to control what your results are going to be by controlling your effort put in.
Yeah, I think this game is like so simple. It's just infuriating that people can't understand it, I guess. And I really call this generation like the no excuse generation because, when I was growing up, like I said, we never had lacrosse on TV. Everybody in Chicago played basketball. And we watched Michael Jordan go do something. And then we went out to a playground and we tried to copy what he did. That's literally what we did every single day from sports. And emulation is like the way to do it. You want to be great at lacrosse, at shooting, go copy Ryan Brown. He's the best shooter on the planet right now. Copy exactly what he's doing. You want to be the best midfielder, do exactly what Tom Schreiber does. It's not complicated. Like, when I learned it and started getting involved with coaching, I watched a ton of Jim Berkman and Salisbury. I was like, would post all these shooting videos and stuff. And my favorite thing about it is you could watch 50 guys go through a shooting drill at Salisbury, and you couldn't pick out who was the first team All-American and who was the fifth string midfielder because they all shot exactly the same. Like, there's a right way and a wrong way to do stuff. And if you're a young player, all that information is out there. The best players in this game are fully accessible, and they tell you exactly what you have to do to be better. You just have to put in the time and choose to commit to doing that. I mean, when I got into coaching, I copied John Danowski. I copied Bill Tierney. I did exactly what they told me to do and didn't.
Coach K.
I mean, it's not hard to figure out how to do this stuff. So you don't have an excuse in that regard. That's what I mean by calling them the no excuse generation. That being said, there's so much being thrown at these kids that they have a hard time filtering like what is important and what is not important. And it's just important to carve out your own path, to not worry about what everybody else is doing, and to understand that you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up. There's a lot of kids that like think that they can go play at the University of Denver. Well, that's great, but unless you're willing to put in the work to be the 1% of athletes who even have that chance, then don't complain when it doesn't come to you. If you're not running stairs at the football stadium at 6:00 in the morning and hitting the wall every day, you don't have an excuse to complain about this stuff. So they really need to understand that they're going to end up where they're supposed to end up. Not everybody is supposed to go to Denver and to Notre Dame and to these these kind of schools because they haven't earned it. And, outside of that group, there are 900 other colleges that offer opportunities for you to play. And some of them will take you on their team and give you scholarship money, even if you've never picked up a lacrosse stick before. So there is everything in between to be able to find something. What matters is that you find a school that you're supposed to go to, that you actually go to the place where you are supposed to be, and that you just work hard and commit to what you work hard. If you can be on the team for 4 years, you'll have learned enough to be hired by somebody who also went through that experience after. And just committing to that is valuable for you.
Kevin, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. And I think that's what's true about, college as a whole. If you go and get the education, you're prepared to go to that next level, be hired for your first time. If you play a sport, that's another commitment. You're not going out, you're not partying, you're not fraternizing with whoever's out there. You're actually committed to something that's greater than just yourself. And the camaraderie that a team provides shows professionals that you know what it takes. You know what accountability is, what discipline is, communication, showing up on time. If you're on time, you're late. You're on time if you're 15 minutes early. It's those little things that you get from the sport that no one's just going to tell you except for a coach, because they're really creating young men and women that are going to be positive role models. They're going to make huge impacts and splashes in our communities. And it's so cool that you two are able to provide such access to so many people to start inspiring that, where now you've got guys that you initially sparked, they're now coaches and causing that ripple effect in so many other generations. And just so props to you guys for all that you're doing and the attitudes that you have, because that's huge. That's why you two are right now pinnacles and successes where you are. And we'd love to be able to support whatever you two are up to. Is there anything that you want to make sure that we're aware of that you're focusing on right now that we can support you in?
We'd love to have teams come visit the West. I think that's, our biggest thing is coming up and visiting, and we'll show you a good time. And then I know it's reciprocal too. I went down to Arizona last year. A great friend of mine is coaching the women's team there, and gave me access to their program for, a week, and got to go to all the coaches meetings and all that. And I've been working the ASU or the NAU overnight camp for Rhino for the last few years. And I know a bunch of the high school coaches and things in the area. And, you know, it's a small community, and I love the area down there. I love to be back and be bringing more teams and spreading the game both ways. But, you know, really, like, we're all in this together. You know, this whole push in the entire West has been building over the last 20 years. And it's almost everywhere. We're in almost every community, and we do instructional camps, you know, pretty much in the communities that are the in-betweens. That's where we live, is in these like flyover towns and things like that. And we've seen successes come out of all these different areas. So there's no like guarantee with anything, and being from a certain place isn't prohibitive as much as you like. It's only prohibitive as much as you want to make it prohibitive. So yeah, I mean, I just think like anybody that's doing the sport the right way, we're supportive of that, and you know, want to get behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had awesome partners in the past, and, you know, looking for more opportunities in the future to just either grow locally with local businesses, getting them in front of different kids, and, you know, all the right reasons, but also, you know, nationally, just getting our message out there a little bit more and trying to share what, you know, we've learned and what we're, you know, continuing to learn, you know, with people that want to give us a chance and just come out and have a great time. That's basically, we just want smiles at the end of every handshake line, and just have an awesome time doing it.
Awesome. Well, I love, and I know I was speaking with Dan Lannon a little bit about coming out to Montana this summer, and that seems like a real riot to me to be able to be in such a beautiful new location for me, and also to be playing my favorite sport in the world. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut this, and it will be a YouTube video. So everyone watching, in the link below, you'll see the tags for Instagram, the website, everything else between, so you can go visit Treasure State Lacrosse so you can learn a little bit more. And Kevin, Chris, thank you guys so much for being a part of this conversation today, for leading the charge up in Montana and for the West Coast. We really appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate it.